Well, we've got something a bit deeper than lighthearted Asta getting kicked around like a football this week. Things got downright somber in Black Clover, but there's some fun times too, keeping things nice and rounded. Let's get to it. We open chapter 341 in fine dramatic style. It is time for us to be introduced to 3 more members of Ichika's warrior team, the Ryuzen 7. These are heroes of the land of the sun, so of course they'll make a big impression. First up, we have Hanagatsuji Jozo sporting a kick-ass Oni mask with an X-shaped missing chunk. It is clear this guy has been in a fight or two. Next, it's Ookudai Zaemon, a big guy with a mile-wide smile. He's just happy to be here. And finally, we have Imari Kamari, a Gyaru, wearing flower print and fishnets. Well, she might be anachronistic, but she is also clearly pumped for this. All 3 are here to train Asta, and we see the results right away. Jozo knocks the Black Bull skyward with his Zetten. The Demon Warrior delivers an impressive left hook. Zaemon blasts him back with another Zetten. The Merry Monk knocks his sparring partner to the ground with a simple jab. Komari goes for the third, pushing Asta right back into the sky before alighting in an acrobatic twirl. You can tell she likes to finish her foes in style. That's 3 impacts with this mountain-splitting move in a matter of minutes. Even Asta can only take so much punishment. Soon enough, he's down on the ground, unconscious once again. Not much has changed since his fight with Ichika. Still, there's less malice to this fight than we saw last chapter. The other members of the Ryuzen 7 understand the point of a training match and aren't just going to slam his head into the ground. Jozu is hanging back with Ryuya and Ichika, but Zaemon and Komari are happy to talk with their new friend. Ookudai welcomes Asta to the land of the sun, laughing merrily at the Black Bull's unusual arrival. Himari is crouched down by the stranger's side, chattering away. She has a vitally important question for Asta, one that cannot even wait for Fumito's healing. Is his hair natural? After all, hers is dyed, but this guy is a stranger who couldn't have brought any sort of cosmetics with him. Asta confirms while inside the fish spirit that it is a bit more complex than that. There are all sorts of hair colors in his homeland. There's silver, orange, and all sorts of other shades. And you know what? It sounds to me like Asta's first thoughts went to Noel and Mimosa. But this idea only gets Imari even more pumped up. There are so many more possibilities for different shades of dye, things she hadn't even considered. For someone so clearly fashion forward, this has to be invigorating. She looks like she's about to run off to start experimenting this very minute. Jozo is starting to lose his patience with his hyperactive teammate. The masked warrior calls out her look, referring to her clothes and makeup as gaudy. As far as the demon masked Ryuzen is concerned, this is clearly an appropriate dress for a sparring session. Not to mention that Komari is apparently supposed to be their teen shinobi, which I have to say is perfect. Who would ever suspect this person is a shinobi? She's wearing bright clothes, is super outgoing and friendly, and just seems like some sort of street performer. It's the perfect disguise. Himari swiftly claps back, pointing out Hanagatsuji's Oni mask. If someone is going to find one of these suspicious, they're probably going to be worried about the obvious warrior with the face of a demon, not the cute girl in flower print and makeup. Her friend is just being a dour old stick in the mud, though perhaps I've given this more consideration than Komari has. The Gyaru ninja proudly proclaims that sometimes you just have to not think so hard about a situation and make it through. She gets into this with gusto, speaking happily about the virtues of shutting your brain off and going with the flow. Jozo despairs at the whole display. Not only is it terrible advice, but it is a terrible look. This is their first interaction with a foreigner, the start of diplomatic relations with a new kingdom, and his teammate is talking about the importance of acting like an idiot. As far as he's concerned, Imari is clearly giving Asta a terrible impression about what people in the land of the sun are like. The loudmouth ninja, however, is fine with that. She does not want to be like the rest of her homeland. As far as Komari is concerned, people in the land of the sun are seriously lacking in energy. They're mostly dour, straight-laced, and very focused on tradition, like Jozo. That's why she's resolved to pump everyone up with enthusiasm, bright clothing, and constant cheer. Fumito chuckles at this. The placid healer clearly enjoyed the positivity. For someone prone towards nervousness, it's got to be nice to have Imari around. Sort of like an anti-Ichika. He speculates that one day, the ninja style might just catch on with the wider population. It could start a whole fashion movement, maybe even a subculture. Jozo groans inwardly at that, finding the thought of multiple Imaris horrific. Imari, however, does not get the problem. She's proud of her work. You know she would enjoy the company, as would her teammate Zaemon, though for perhaps less than ideal reasons. The big man happily proclaims his approval at such risque clothing. Even Imari's grossed out by that reaction. That's done more to make her reconsider her life choices than Hanagatsuji ever could. Still, before the argument between the Ryuzen can spiral out of control any further, Ryuya walks over to join the group. The Shogun is happy to see that they're having fun, but apologizes for making this request of them. The trio don't mind one bit, however. All of them are happy to see Ryuya, their lord, their brother, their friend. They greet him with wide grins. For the Shogun of the Land of the Sun, they would do anything. And as such, attention turns to Asta. Ryuya has a simple question for the Black Bull. Do you want to go again? As much as he usually enjoys training, even Asta's eyes go wide at the prospect of receiving another beatdown like that. The Ryuzen 7 are all savage opponents. He's been knocked unconscious repeatedly just today. Still, he knows what he has to do. He is here to train, to get strong enough to beat Lucius. This is going to take some real determination. He won't get anywhere if he calls it quits every time he gets knocked down. As such, Asta confirms to Ryuya that yes, he is down for another round. The group keeps training for the rest of the day as hard as ever before. Come nighttime, a full moon has risen over the river. The lunar orb shrouded behind heavy cloud cover. A flock of gently hooting owls has perched atop the bamboo, ready for their nocturnal hunt. Asta is laying sprawled out on the stones beneath the waterfall, clearly exhausted. It wasn't even close. No matter how many times he fought them, the three Ryuzen all wiped the floor with him. What's worse, they did it all without using a single spell. This was for once an entirely fair fight, strictly physical combat. There's a 10 against Asta's, and he wasn't able to keep up. That has to sting. Still, this has to have been educational for Asta. He's worked out something that Ryuya and the rest hadn't even told him. The Zetten is more complex than it seemed. Ichika released her magic all at once, but that was simply her personal style. The other Ryuzen were able to distribute their power into multiple blows. They all have a version that best fits how they like to fight. That sort of flexibility means there are options with the Zetten. If you can control the release of energy, there are all sorts of techniques you could perform. Asta sighs. He's still got a long way to go before he can really get into this advanced stuff. The regular Zetten is already tough to use. That kind of key mastery takes concentration. He has to get it down perfectly and be sure he is ready to find an opening to use it. That is the first step towards getting ready for fighting Lucius. He can worry about creating a personal version of the Zetten after that. He's got a lot to get through. It'll have to be one step at a time. Still, that doesn't make it easier to accept how tough the road's going to be. The young Black Bull looks up at the night sky. Asta's thoughts drift briefly towards home, his friends, his village. What are the members of his squad doing right now? Do they know he's alright? Are they fighting Lucius? Are they safe? What would Captain Yami's reaction be if he could see him here in his homeland? Stargazing like this, however, gives Asta a curious realization. It is always cloudy here. There has been persistent cloud cover ever since he first looked outside. Something very odd for a place known as the Land of the Sun. Were the people who named this country just being ironic? It's not like they're in the mountains either. All the terrain he has seen has been flat. It's quite odd. Before Asta can speculate anymore, however, a figure steps out of the shadows to join him, Ichika. And for once, she doesn't look like she's about to rip his head off. Asta is happy to see her and is about to offer a greeting before getting his tongue caught in his mouth. He's not sure what honorific to give her. San? Sama? Dono? Chan? I think sensei is probably the right call here for your instructor, Asta. Ichika simply looks at him. Still, the Black Bull doesn't let the awkward silence get him down. Instead, he goes for an awkward topic change, sharing his age before asking for hers. When she confirms that she's 24, Asta is shocked. He'd figured that they were about the same age. While Ichika's attention had previously drifted towards a small nearby shrine, Asta's words draw a withering glance from the younger Yami. She is perpetually serious and focused. She doesn't like any sort of accusation that she's being childish. Asta insists that he just saw her as youthful before returning to his search for an honorific. It takes him a second to throw out another idea, but soon enough one comes to him. Would calling her Ichika Ne-san be alright? At this point, even the easily irritated Ichika can't stay mad at the idiot. It's clear he's trying to be polite at least. She makes it clear that just using her name is fine, much to Asta's relief. She explains that she has come out here at Ryuya's request. The Shogun had asked her to look after their foreign guest. She can't just leave him lying around outside in the middle of the night. He would have rather done it by himself, but that simply wasn't an option. While he can come off as an idle slacker in search of a fun time, Ryuya is extremely busy. After all, he is the ruler of an entire nation. What's more, the land of the sun isn't exactly stable. Ryuya uses his Tengetsu, the clairvoyance granted by his magical eye, to govern the entire nation. Thanks to that, he can see everything happening at the present point in time simultaneously. It's an invaluable tool for the leader of a nation. Asta is awed by that idea. He can barely process the concept, even with Ichika's explanation. That sort of ability would pretty much amount to omnipotence. You would have to process so much information simultaneously. He wonders aloud if Ryuya's sight could really work like that. It seems too incredible to be real to Asta. In other words, he just implied the Shogun's signature ability and greatest tool was a lie. This was not a smart thing to say in front of Ichika, the woman entirely devoted to him. The samurai tenses, muttering the Black Bull is a fool, before descending into a magnificent display of unhinged fangirl rage at this insult of her idol. Somehow, this is infinitely less intimidating than anything we've seen out of her before. All of Ichika's stoicism and dignity has left her in an instant. The image of the battle-hardened warrior went along with it. You can't maintain murderous intent while sounding like this much of a nerd. She's just yelling at Asta now, proclaiming how awesome Ryuya is. And why shouldn't she? This man has no Yoryuko, yet he still united the land of the sun in the midst of civil unrest. As far as Ichika is concerned, he is the greatest hero who ever was. He used his sight, wisdom, and people's love to accomplish what others couldn't. He brought peace to the land of the sun. Surely Asta couldn't possibly understand what that's like. He couldn't get how amazing that sort of accomplishment is. Asta is just some loser foreigner who got his butt kicked by some other loser foreigner. But Ryuya's great. He's amazing, the best person Ichika has ever met. And it's at that point that Ichika realizes what she has been sounding like. She coughs, taking a step back and readopting her usual stoic manner. The important part of her speech is that, well, Ryuya is pretty cool. And he has asked her to look out for Asta. And even though she dislikes the Black Bull quite a bit, she will go to the wall over this if Ryuya asks her to. That's just how much she trusts him. Ichika looks away from Asta, for the first time seeming honestly embarrassed. It's bizarre to see someone so consumed by rage and irritation finally open up a bit. She admits that her devotion to Ryuya goes beyond just respect for his role and accomplishments. He saved her personally. She is still deeply indebted to him for that. Asta smiles at the admission. For the first time, he has gotten a sense of who Ichika is under all the scowling and hostility. He understands her and likes what he sees. Ichika looks up to Ryuya just like Asta looked up to the Wizard King. She doesn't want to surpass him, but she appreciates him. For all her anger and contempt, Yami Ichika is a good person trying to do her best with the cards she has been dealt. Asta remembers that both Ichika and Ryuya's ki resemble Sukehiro's quite closely. Asta considers both of them amazing people, just like his beloved Captain Yami. Thoughts of his captain awaken a little of Asta's own fanboy side. Ichika shared her thoughts with him. It's only fair he reciprocate. Asta explains that he owes Sukehiro a lot too. The older Yami was the first man to really support Asta's dream to become the Wizard King besides his brother. It was Captain Yami picking Asta for the Black Bulls during the initial selection exam that enabled him to become the person he is today. And that's before you get into the personal training and encouragement. He has been integral to every step of his journey. Asta simply wouldn't be the man he is today without Captain Yami. That's something he really needs to share with Ichika. Surely she'll be happy to know how well her brother's been doing. All the Black Bulls love their captain dearly. He is their pride and joy, the one who gave them a place to belong. Even if they haven't spoken in so many years, Sukehiro is someone Ichika can be proud of. He's made one amazing life for himself in the Clover Kingdom. He's a hero. Before Asta can get into more depth, Ichika cuts him off. Her voice is cold again. She orders Asta to stop talking about that man. Asta is confused by this. She means her brother, right? Why wouldn't she want to learn more about her family? He tries to think this over, remembering what Yami said of his origin. According to the captain, he ended up in the Clover Kingdom after being shipwrecked while on a fishing trip. Ichika dismisses that idea as pure nonsense. It sounds like something Sukehiro just made up later. She doesn't know what took her brother from her. What's more, she doesn't care. As far as she's concerned, Sukehiro Yami is the worst kind of scum. She does not want to hear one more word spoken about her good-for-nothing brother. Even having said this much has clearly annoyed her. The harsh words take Asta aback. When he regains himself though, the Black Bull is defiant. How could Ichika say something like that about her brother? She is talking about Captain Yami, a great hero of the Clover Kingdom. This is Asta's father figure. Sure, he's a bit rough around the edges, but he has done nothing to deserve this level of resentment. Asta won't let the man who did so much for him be insulted like this. Ichika glares at Asta. She is taking nothing back. She stands behind her judgment and makes her reasoning crystal clear. When they were younger, Tsukahiro Yami annihilated their entire clan. He wiped out their family, murdered each and every one of them. The blood of an entire lineage is on his hands. We follow Ichika's eyes back to that time, when she was with her brother. The young Captain Yami stood beneath a torii, encouraging his sister to stay close. His fishing rod is slung over his shoulder, his face is set. Whatever lies before him, he is ready for it. And that's where we leave Black Clover chapter 341, with far too many unanswered questions. Did Yami really go Itachi on his family? Why? And if he did go Itachi on his family, well, Itachi went Itachi on his family for a reason, but hey, there are so many different ways the story can go from here. Leave us your predictions in the comments down below. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.